words, you know.
Thank you for attending the Finance Committee. First order of business is to approve, 2 weeks ago we had a meeting. Those minutes, please. Motion made by Supervisor Frazier, second by Supervisor Merlino. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
I need to abstain.
You were not there.
Not finance.
Okay, so I was just talking to Amanda, and 2 weeks ago we did have the meeting, and privilege of the floor is always available in the beginning, but I'm also going to have it at the end because we've vetted a lot of issues where Travis wanted to speak initially, that a lot of the questions were answered. So if somebody has to just state something and then leave, I'm going to leave this up here, but otherwise, hopefully, at the end, we'll also give an opportunity to have questions answered. Okay. Okay, so anyone for privilege of the floor right now? All right, let's move on to the action agenda. We have number 1, request for transfer of funds is attached for committee approval. Any questions on these? All right. If none, I need a motion to approve this, please. Motion made by Supervisor Strauss, seconded by Supervisor Beatty. I'm sorry, Supervisor Frazier. That's a tough. How the
You woke me up there, Matt.
How the heck did I mix that one up?
I was in a deep coma.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Okay, 2, requests from the County Facilities Committee, Airport. Request to increase capital project H359. It's the upgrade to the fuel farm for $7,000, or $7,007.87, and this was in addition to, Kevin, this was in addition to...
It was an unforeseen condition when they were under construction. This is just a change order for that.
Okay. And it's budgeted?
Did this last time?
Okay, we need a motion to get this on the floor, made by Supervisor McDevitt, seconded by Supervisor Strau. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Request from the Criminal Justice and Public Safety Committee, Office of Emergency Services. A, we have a request to amend the county budget in the amount of $2,893.36 to carry over unused funds from the FY15 State Homeland Security Grant Program. Actually, these, as I'm looking, A, B, C, and D are all requests to amend the county budget for over unused funds. If somebody would like to move all 4. Motion made by Supervisor Merlino, second by Supervisor Frazier. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Moving on to Sheriff, we have a request to amend the county budget in the amount of $523,000, or $523,375 to carry over unused funds from the 2016 statewide interoperable communications grant. Motion made by Supervisor McDevitt, second by Supervisor Bramer. Supervisor Stroud.
Well, could I, this one seems interesting. Could somebody explain this to me?
Sheriff is not here.
What is it now? Which one?
This is E.
E, the 523,000?
Yeah, this is just to carry over the grant funds. If we don't expend in 2017, they carry it over. They have to do a
The
budget.
next year?
Yes, it's
Oh,
just a carryover.
All right, okay.
Okay.
Is that correct, Treasurer?
Yes, it is.
Yeah,
All right.
okay.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so we have a motion, we have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Request to amend the county budget in the amount of $7,392 to reflect receipt of insurance recovery funds.
I'll do F and G.
Motion made by Supervisor Garrity to move F and G, second by Supervisor Strau. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Okay, moving on to 4, we have requests from the Economic Growth Development Committee under planning. We have a request to establish Community Development Fund, CD 75, in the amount of $43,237 to administer CFA grant award for Countryside Adult Home Assessment to include the physical structure and its subsystems.
I'll move it to get it on the floor.
Motion made by Supervisor Garrity, second by Supervisor Merlino. Discussion?
This was a CFA grant award that to look at the physical plant at the Countryside and see if it needs repairs to roofs, furnaces, and I believe it was awarded through the CFA process. I don't know if it's a match. Chris, do you know if that's a match, or is there any? This is just an out. 43,000 straight up.
All right. Any more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Moving on to B, we have a request to increase capital project H347 invasive species boat washing stations in the amount of $482,050 to make adjustments, allocate local matching funds, in-kind services. You know, this might be a good segue actually to introduce Chris Belden, who is the assistant county planner. He's right under Wayne. And I stopped by the office yesterday, just wanted to introduce Chris first of all, and have Chris come to the podium and just kind of do a little recap here, because there may be some questions that he'll answer for you. So Chris, if you don't mind just going to the podium and explaining some of the things that are happening here.
B and C.
This is B and C, yes.
So, good morning. Thank you for the introduction. The county planning department has taken over administration of a contract that the Department of State awarded to the county that was previously being administered by the Watershed Coalition, David Decker. And so these amendments are in response to some amendments that have been made between the county and the Department of State. Some of these requests are in response to the amendments that we have worked on with the Department of State, and some are the result of prior administration, the Watershed Coalition. So, first and foremost, we need to increase the capital project fund by $482,050. The original resolution only authorized the grant amount, 50% of the total project cost, so we need to put the other $482,050 in to be able to make payments to our subcontractors, the Lake George Association and the Fund for Lake George. And in doing so, we will then be able to submit for reimbursement from the Department of State.
Okay.
So,
Can I just ask?
Go ahead.
What's the date of this
this is a
award?
2013 award.
Was that one of the first boat washing ones we did?
This was to help establish, yes, this is to help establish the boat washing.
So this goes back.
This goes back.
This wasn't done through the county. This was done. Wasn't this done through the county initially, or no?
Yeah,
Somebody help me here.
The Watershed Coalition had requested that the application be applied for through the county. So the contract is between the state and Warren County.
Okay.
But the actual administration of it was to be handled by the coalition. Given the fallout last year with the prior administrator of the coalition,
Right.
the county planning department picked up administration of it.
So I know we vetted doing this, but this is just to clean up the.
Some of it's cleanup from before, and some of these requests are in response to changes that we've worked on with the Department of State. The work plan, the contract was amended following the removal of Dave Decker from the coalition.
So the 482 will be a reimbursed to the county?
No, not exactly.
That's where I get confused.
So the total project cost was $964,100.
Okay.
50% of that is the $48250. When the capital project fund was established,
Right.
it was only for that $48250. But in order for us to
Put in for the match?
in order to get 50% of the.
So you have to increase the capital up to the 9.
So we can make payments to the LGA and the fund who have already made expenses. We need to pay them so that then we can say to the state,
And some of this money is, some of this is reimbursement for in-kind service, or has that already been accounted for in this one?
All the work has been done.
All the work.
The county will see some money, and the fund and the LGA will see some of these funds.
Okay. It's clear as mud.
I apologize.
Well, and
No, that's fine.
And one of the reasons why I did bring Chris was because I know we've had a lot of questions lately about grants, and quite honestly, Wayne is busy with the First Wilderness, whereas Chris has been taking care of it. He's in constant communication with the state, so I thought it was a good plan to bring Chris in here after discussing matters with them yesterday. Did you?
Mike, your department's fine.
Yeah, just to make it easier, the original resolution should have said 900 and whatever the amount was.
Okay.
For some reason, I don't know.
So it's a
why.
cleanup.
It's a cleanup.
Okay.
It was put through at the 482,000. Now, in order to get everything that we need to from the state, it has to state, and so that we can book it into our record,
Okay.
it has to be the original amount of the grant, which was 90-some thousand. Correct.
So I'll make a motion on B.
Okay, so we have a motion made by Supervisor
I'll
Garrity,
second the
seconded by...
motion and also make the comment, Dan, thank you for pointing out. Peter, thank you.
No relation, no relation.
Chris, I mean, yeah, pointing out two things, the complexity of these Department of State loans, and that the administration of these grants was done by the coalition. Make it clear again. All right. And I second.
Okay, so anybody have a question for Chris on B? On B. Go ahead, Supervisor Bramer.
Okay, just in response to Supervisor Strauss' comment, the coalition, if you can correct me, the coalition, though, did not, in these instances, expend any of the money.
Correct. They were going to be...
But they were administered by
project
Dave
manager.
Decker, who was the contractor for the Department of State
All right.
and the director of the coalition.
Well, I just want to be clear that he may have been organizing things and telling people do this, that, whatever, but money did not go out under the coalition. That's why we're asked to...
Lots of money went out under the coalition. But the
On
grants
this.
were being organized by Dave Decker and administered by Dave Decker, who was the contractor for the Department of State.
This particular grant, can you please confirm that money did not get expended through the coalition? I mean, the fund spent money, maybe at Dave's direction, but Dave Decker never paid them. That's why they still need to get paid.
Clear as mud again.
Right. We never paid the coalition. Nothing has been paid out by the Department of State
Right,
for this contract.
right. When I met with Wayne, that's why I felt comfortable with us moving forward, because the money was still sitting either, the third parties had expended their own money and are waiting for reimbursement from the state through us.
That's the way I
Okay.
understand
Okay,
it.
all right, thank you.
Any more discussion? Supervisor Wild.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
There's other ones out
Chris,
there.
have we had any determination by the state in terms of whether any of this reimbursement is at risk?
I can't speak for other contracts. For this here, the state is okay with everything.
Okay, anyone else? We do have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, carried. Thank you, Chris. Can you move on to C, please?
Yeah, sure. So there's, I haven't had a chance to look at this on your agenda, but I believe it probably includes, it should include, there's two other requests. There's one for reflecting changes that have been made with the Department of State contract to utilize $100,000 that was paid by the county to the Lake George Park Commission in the amount of $100,000. It was originally authorized through, I believe, 47 of 14 and amended by 73 of 14. The money was it was advanced. $200,000 was advanced to the park to the Park Commission at the request of the Watershed Coalition for the purposes of establishing boat washing program by the spring of 2014. At the time, the Department of State is somewhat slow on producing contracts with its recipients. So the grant was awarded in 13, but they did not see a contract until actually 16. But they wanted to get the program up and running as soon as possible. So the original resolutions had identified this money as being advanced. The Treasurer's Office has identified it as being a reimbursable expense, but it needs to be amended to reflect it as a local match.
Yes, Supervisor Gary.
Did any money change hands? No, seriously, I'm trying to understand this. Where did the money go from, fellas, please?
Well, 100,000 went to the Lake George Park Commission.
From the county?
Yes, from the county.
Okay.
Operates the boat washing station.
Okay, and we're supposed to be reimbursed for this, correct?
Definitely, we were supposed to have been reimbursed.
Did we get any money?
Well, no, now it's being changed as a non-reimbursable local. That's why we have to come up with $100,000.
So who's left holding the bag for the 100,000? Because I remember when we did this, we were very specific that this was not going to be any of county taxpayers' money, and we were going to get this money back. Has something changed?
The way I remembered it too.
Absolutely. When we voted to do this for all the communities, and we voted all this invasive species back in 2015, we were assured that this was going to be like a pass-through, and we were going to get refunded. Now you're telling me that now they're saying they have to prove the 100,000 as in kind or something? Is that what you're saying?
Well, we were part of this. I mean, Chris and Wayne met with the state, so we weren't part of that discussion. So.
Well, is that what they're saying?
And I should also include in here that in the discussion that the Watershed Coalition had made that request for 200 to be advanced. However, the work plan that was concocted with Dave Decker and Department of State didn't include all that money. It included money for equipment, which was in the amount of $112,731. Did not include the remainder of that. This amended contract that the Planning Department and the state have worked out, it does include that, but it's not included as a local match. Excuse me, a reimbursable expense.
Are you comfortable with this?
Am I personally comfortable with it?
No, I don't get it. I'm trying to follow it, so please, somebody help me.
I'm confused too. That sounds like we're losing 150 grand.
Yeah.
It does.
I think we need to send this back to committee. This is a change since what we approved.
We can do that. Supervisor Loeb, question?
Yes, just with the discussion, lack of clarity, what happens if the Finance Committee says no? What happens to all the money?
It's already gone.
Well, I did prepare a budget, if that could maybe add some clarity. Maybe it would be worse, I don't know. I did prepare a budget, if you guys would like to see it, that indicates what's being utilized as local match and what's being utilized as a reimbursable item.
You know what, Chris, there's no timetable for this, right? I kind of agree with Supervisor Bramer. Maybe that budget could be brought to the next economic development meeting and we can rehash this. Go ahead.
Can has this been discussed with the folks that the money was fronted to? I mean, is the coalition or that group willing to pay the county taxpayers back for the money that they spent?
Well, the coalition isn't involved in this.
Who's involved?
There's the Lake George Association, who did milfoil eradication and Asian clam removal, and the fund for Lake George that did milfoil.
So is it the fund and the Lake George Park Commission, or is it, who is it, the fund?
The fund and the Lake George Association, not the Park
Oh, that's a
Commission.
different.
Yes.
So would they be willing to pay us back and let them go fight this battle?
So in terms of local match, the Lake George Association, we were utilizing $90,000 of their contributions that they give to the boat washing program.
Okay.
and the remainder of that match is coming from the county. There was a 2014 contribution to that program, I think, in the amount of $150,000. We're planning on using another $150,000 that was contributed in 2015, portion of that, and then the $100,000 that we're discussing right now.
Perhaps we break it down in a budget and...
Maybe I can help, maybe not. I think what they're doing is, within the application, recognizing the money that we've been giving the Lake George Park Commission these past few years. As you recall, it used to be $150,000 of $250,000, and then in that third year, we reduced it to $100,000. It's been $100,000 ever since. So what I think is going on is they're amending the budget to recognize that money that we were giving them anyway as a local match, where the initial application may not have recognized that as a local match. I believe that's what's happening, in a way.
Some of it is.
Yeah, okay.
The $100,000 is...
No, it's just money we would have spent.
Okay, I'm okay with that, Chairman, as long as we followed our rules that we said back in 2015. If we're following the rules that we put forth in 2015, I'm okay with it. But if the taxpayers are getting hoodwinked for these funds, I'm not okay with it, because at the time we were very explicit. Because if you remember, we're still arguing over a 2007 issue that the county fronted the money and has never been paid for, to my knowledge, and we've been fighting that battle. We fought that battle in 2015 when I was chairman, and we've been fighting that battle, and to my knowledge the county is still owed probably $36,000 from a 2007 grant fund award that was held up, and then of course the other investigation, and we fronted communities in the county, and I'm just tired of this. You know, we front a lot of money out of the county, but when you want to do a sewer project, all devil breaks loose up there to put a sewer line in from Countryside to Delhome to approve a building, yet we're waiting on money from 2007 that we've never received for a grant, and it just bothers me that. And then I know explicitly, and Gene, you were here, did we not say that this was not going to cost the county? So whatever you need to do to fix it, and if it's working out that way, I can support it. But if it's not, I do think we need to revisit this with a breakdown of funds on a spreadsheet. Everything.
That's not a bad idea anyway, and you're the chair, Superintendent, but you know, and maybe we should include all parties. I don't know if the fund can make it, and
I will say, if I could just add to the like I said, the original contract work plan that Mr. Decker worked out with the Department of State didn't include that 200 that you're talking about. When he went to submit for the payment request, he made it out, went to the treasurers, went to the Department of State. It included 50% of that 112, so $56,000. Under our administration of it, we yanked it back, and we're now going to see the county will see roughly $146,000 back. There's salaries and our administrative salaries, and the equipment that was purchased, and also some reimbursable expenses from the contributions that you've made to them.
But you could do a spreadsheet for us and bring it to the next finance, so we have time to act on this, or does it need to be acted on soon?
Well, I mean, the contract period is running up. It's running out, I think, at the end of March.
Oh.
It's not really I mean...
Could you email us a spreadsheet so everybody's comfortable?
Sure. I could pass it out now, but you're going to have time to... You want to have time to...
Well, if you have it, I mean... Thank you. Sure. Thank you.
Supervisor Beatty.
Yeah, it gets complicated, obviously, with Mr. Decker and his alleged fraud allegations, all these different contracts involving towns, protecting the towns without law. also saw a memo from the State Department indicating the town, directly to the town. Well, my question is, the 108,000 that I recall you saying, we never even had a contract for it. This is not related to this issue, correct? Remember you said, Doug, we don't even have a contract for that. I said, how could that be?
Because of this and what happened at the old washing station and so forth, is why now I have insisted that any of these grants, we do not expend any funds until we have the signed contract in front of us, so that we can make sure that there aren't these discrepancies and these problems afterwards. Okay?
But that one that we never even, remember, it came up about 2 years ago, and you said, you made a mention of it at a meeting, saying, well, we have another one out here for 104 or 108, which we don't even have a contract for.
That's the 2007 one.
No, that's the one that Kevin's regarding. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm trying to clear my mind. Yeah. Okay.
So maybe what we could do, and I'll leave it up to the committee as to which direction you want to head into, but I think maybe we would like to get this for this month's board, just so Chris has some time. If we could have a special meeting for economic growth development, and then we could maybe couple it with finance to approve it if we want to approve it. But I think it needs to be vetted sooner than later. Sounds like there's too many questions here.
You got one more? Yeah.
But I'll leave that up to the committee as to what direction you guys want to head into.
Oh, here.
And this is just on item C. Thoughts from anyone?
I would definitely like to not vote on this right now.
Correct, but do we want to address this sooner than later? Do you want to have a special meeting, or do you want to just wait till the next?
This stuff is from 2014, I think.
What would change, couldn't we get back together with our questions in a week or so on this, and call a special finance meeting to do that? Does that give us enough time?
That's what I'm
Or,
asking.
Peter, are you gonna,
Sure.
this is something that has to be done through economic development?
Well, I was thinking if Peter does hold the meeting, then we can get
both of them together?
Exactly, we could get the fund here, and we could just hash it all out.
Yeah, you wanna get the players.
Well, yeah.
Sure, makes sense.
Okay. Pull it together.
Sound good? Okay, so Amanda will send us out some, or talk to you and get some dates for us.
Just don't interfere with my area and my replacement.
Just say we got 2 days.
Uh-huh. Okay, so we'll hold off on C and move that to economic development, correct? Okay. Anything else?
I don't know why it's not in. I thought there was going to be another amendment to utilize. Oh, okay, it's part of C. I'm sorry. The $150,000 utilizing a portion of the 150 in 2015.
That's under item C.
Okay.
Yep. So it'll be all incorporated.
Okay.
Yep. Anything else for Chris? Chris, thank you so much for coming, and it was a pleasure meeting you, and I hope you all got to meet him. And Wayne just showed it in the nick of time just to show face. Roger Leggett, did you have a? Okay. All right. Okay. Moving on to item 5. We have referrals from Health, Human, and Social Services Committee. Under Health Services, request to amend the county budget in the amount of $413.26 to reflect the receipt of funding from the Adirondack Rural Health Network to support the Neonatal Abstinence Syndrome Prevention Agenda Project. Motion made by Supervisor Bramer, second by Supervisor Frazier.
Could we put A and B together? They're both
Sure,
receipts.
sure. Is that okay with you?
Yes.
All right. We have a motion and a second to move A and B. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, carried. 6, referrals from the Public Works Committee, DPW. We have a request to establish all these road projects for 2018.
I'll move on.
Okay, thank you. Motion made by Supervisor Garrity, second by Supervisor Stroh. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, carried. Okay. B, Request to increase capital project H374 Warrensburg Fuel Farm in the amount of $10,000 to cover the costs associated with the repair. Yep.
I'll move it.
Motion made by Supervisor Garrity, seconded by Supervisor Frazier. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. C, request to authorize the chairman of the board to approve and sign the just compensation determination amounts for capital project H322 Palisades Road over Brant Lake Inlet Bridge Replacement Project. Please note, this request was not previously reviewed and approved by the Public Works Committee. We do have Kevin Hajos here, if anybody has any questions on this.
I'll move it to get it on the floor.
Motion made by Supervisor Garrity, seconded by Supervisor Merlino. Discussion? Supervisor Bramer?
Yeah, could you just tell us what these are? Is this, I'm sorry, I didn't see if the amounts are in there and all that stuff.
They are, there should have, and I believe that you guys sent it down, but I thought there was a letter showing you that.
Yeah, there is. It's 6C in the packet.
Yeah, it is.
Which one is it?
6C. 6C. These are, yeah.
Supervisor Beatty, you had a question?
Well, yeah, I was basically
Oh, okay.
Supervisor Bramer.
Okay.
I was looking for backup.
Okay, any other discussion? Do you have a motion and a second? Yes? Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Okay, moving on to 7, we have referrals from Support Service Committee. County Clerk, request to amend local law number 5 of 2016, which imposed the Warren County local mortgage tax, to extend it for an additional 2 years, and that is starting December 1st of 2018 going to December 1st of 2020.
I'll move it. Yeah.
Motion made by Supervisor Garrity, seconded by Supervisor Bramer. Any discussion on this? Supervisor Beatty?
Yeah, what percent is this mortgage tax again? Is that
1.25.
0.25, and how much does that bring into the county?
About 900,000, is it?
900,000 a year?
$986,000.
986. How long have we had it at 1.25? We've had it there for what, 2 years at that
Yeah.
rate?
4 years?
Anyways, I think it's been 6 years, 4 or 6 years.
This is the third
Yep,
extension.
it sunsets every time, every 2 years we have to do it for,
And where does that compare to the other counties? I mean,
very similar.
I think it has to be similar state law, isn't it? Yeah.
by state law, it has to be the same across all counties?
Well, I don't know if...
No, I don't think all counties.
Can't answer that.
Mary, do you know?
I don't know off the top of my head.
Supervisor Love?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It's actually, it's county by county, and it comes from legislature, requested the state legislature offers opportunities. I think it went back to 2008, for quite a while. And it originated because the huge hit on the budget back in 2009.
Yeah.
This was not to stabilize things. Given to us, approved by the state legislature. Any reversal, this is actually Dan Steck, Secretary Dan Steck, that reminded us this is coming up for renewal. That's something we say, well, this year we're going to do X%, next year maybe we'll cut it back a little bit. It's all has to originate at the public level.
Yeah, I'm aware that Albany has to approve of any changes in the tax rate, both up or down. They have to say, we don't have the ability to recommend not to change it up or down. I'm aware of that. Okay.
Gene.
Supervisor Mills.
I gotta get my 2 cents in. This is not the total mortgage tax that's collected.
Correct.
This is on top of the initial amount that's done by the state. We enacted this, because I was against this, I voted no both times. Now that I'm finding out how much money it's bringing in, because it wasn't shared by the towns, that's why I was against it, not doing it, but I was against, we didn't get a portion of that 1.5% like we get a portion of the whole amount that comes in. So this is just
Supervisor Love?
add on to that.
The other portions have been around for a century.
Long time.
This is something new this century, and it all comes from state law.
Okay, any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, carried.
Opposed?
One opposed, Supervisor Beatty. Under IT, we have a request to appropriate funding in the amount of $15,700 from the Computer Reserve Fund for the purchase of computers and related equipment and software for various departments. Motion made by Supervisor Frazier, seconded by Supervisor Merlino. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. 8. County Administrator, do you want to...
Routine transfers.
Routine transfers for
Yeah,
A?
a list of them.
Yep.
I'll move 8B.
Okay.
Did you say B?
Mm-hmm.
A and B.
A and B? Okay. We have a motion to move A and B. Oh, that's right, yeah, that's... My bad. A is always an FYI. So you just want to move B? Okay. And seconded by, did I see a hand, Supervisor Beatty?
Yep.
Seconded by Supervisor Beatty. Discussion? And this is a request to appropriate funds in the amount of $199,600 from the Vehicle Reserve Fund to various budget codes to purchase vehicles. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. C, discussion regarding the request from Lake Champlain, Lake George Regional Planning Board for $7,000 in funding and the information they provided regarding the organization. This was tabled 2 weeks ago. Okay. Do we have a motion to get this on the floor? Made by Supervisor McDevitt, seconded by Supervisor Frazier. Discussion? Yes, Supervisor Beatty.
Yeah, I'm still not clear on this. I've seen some emails between Mr., I believe his name's Michael Young, and it's not the amount of funding, although $7,000 is $7,000, although $153 million budget is small. It's peanuts. Yeah, peanuts, thank you, Mr. Marino. But crumbs to some, thank you, Mr. Thomas. But the fact that I don't have clarification yet on who oversees them, who audits them, that still has not been clarified for me in the emails that I saw. So I'm going to vote against it this time until I get clarification in my mind on how this whole thing works with the Lake George Regional Planning, Lake Champlain, Lake George Regional Planning. And it's probably all good and everything, but at this time, if I'm not clear on something, I can't vote for it, so.
Supervisor Bramer?
I still have questions too. I did do a little research and it looks like it's some sort of creation of the legislature. I don't know who audits it. I don't know why we're paying their salaries, but except for that, you know. And I also thought I saw something that they were getting tourism money, and I don't know why that would be. But that's neither here nor there. I'm not opposed to this $7,000.
I'll just share what I know about it. It's a revolving loan fund where they've loaned out a lot of money to a lot of businesses in the region. And when we sent the letter about catching up, and there was a little hiccup there because they got behind and then they hadn't been billed for November and December. That's why they were 4 months behind, and they immediately took care of that. And I did tell the director that you needed to stay current. We couldn't let these lapses and return funding. I believe that we have members of that board from our Board of Supervisors, correct?
Yes.
Yes, there are people, and each county board, I think Washington County has members, we have members. And basically what I think they do is they loan money to different startup businesses and businesses. They've made a lot of loans. There's a whole list of businesses that were given money. They've been in existence for a long time. I would suggest that you call Walter Young and Lake George. And
I've been communicating via email.
Yeah, and
this is very similar to the EDC, correct? I mean,
it's a similar, but it's a little more regional, and we contribute the $7,000 as a regional, or our portion of regional. I know they have Washington County. And I don't know who else is on that.
Maybe Mike or Treasurer Swan.
In the past, when they've gotten behind, the county administrator, we requested of them to be able to do an audit and to review what they were doing, because the concern was, were they financially solvent enough for us to continue to keep giving, advancing the money for payroll and everything. And we were very satisfied with what they were doing and the cash flow and the money that they had. They just get caught in a bind every once in a while when some of the money doesn't get caught up to them. But yeah, they're loaning money to local businesses to promote the businesses to get them going.
And we're one of the contributors to
We're one of the contributors, yes.
Okay.
Are they employees of ours?
Well, no,
No.
Mike, you
They're
can
not
explain that.
employees.
They're not truly employees.
They're not truly employees of the county. It's basically an agreement, and I don't know where it started long before I was here, where we basically are paying them and they give us back the money. So in other words, we do the payroll, and then by the end of the week, they give us back the money.
Where's the liability come?
Well, the liability is that if they don't reimburse us, we're out the money for the payroll. Like you said, once in a while they do get behind. This has happened once before, now it's happened here again. And they get caught up, they catch up. Like I said, we did do an audit of their books, I can't remember, it was 3 years ago maybe, and they're solvent. The way it's all set up, they are solvent. It's not like they're losing money and things are going under and we're at risk. It's just somebody doesn't pay their loan right on time, sometimes their cash flow gets a little behind.
Supervisor Stroud?
This is the third year I've been appointed to be on the board. And it was the first year that Beth Gillis was aware that I was appointed to the board, because I had PDF'd the resolution, forwarded to her. I've never been to a board meeting, never been invited to a board meeting. I am on the board, so I have to recuse myself. But, having said all that, I do get invited to do site visits on some of the projects, and they do wonderful things, especially in the area of stormwater control, to try and assure water quality for the Lake George, Lake Champlain Basin, or whatever that's worth.
Okay, we do have a motion and we do have a second. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? One opposed, Supervisor Beatty? Okay, moving on to 9, request items to be discussed by the county attorney. Nothing? Okay. And 10, we did group, just an FYI, we did group the meal site approvals under this 4B through E, and then item 5. So we need a motion to approve that, please. Motion made by Supervisor Frazier, seconded by Supervisor Garrity. All those in favor?
Aye.
You want a discussion?
Yeah. I understand that we are having serious problems here, but I think that this should have been dealt differently, and I think we need to take a step back. I'm not going to vote in favor of this, and I think that.
Yeah, well, you know, in all honesty, I did speak. I had a conversation last Friday with Virginia, as our grocery store delivered meals there, and as one who did participate in doing deliveries. I feel there's some heartstrings being pulled here. These employees are like their children, and nobody likes change, and especially seniors, they don't like change. But I feel awful that this is occurring, and I just wish that they could hear what we had talked about in an executive, because it would make a world of difference. So, my thoughts, Supervisor Brammer.
I mean, there's nothing stopping, well, although HR is not here anymore. I won't say what I was about to say. Yeah, it is difficult for the seniors, and I think there was a different way we could have gone about this without causing such a hullabaloo.
Yeah. And it may have been a timing thing. I know it sounds like it's being thrust upon us, but I think things were occurring back in December, as Mary had alluded to, but go ahead.
Yeah, I'm going to vote against it, as it was previously brought up in personnel and higher education. My thoughts are still the same. I attended the meeting on Monday, and to my chagrin, this, I find out in executive session that, there are some issues there. So that all of a sudden your mental framework kind of changes because you haven't had access to that information. But yeah, I've got a rather meager brain, and I can't process it all today. So I'm going to vote against it. I don't feel comfortable.
Supervisor Molina.
Yeah, the only thing at the end of the meeting, that last young lady said that she has to stay home now and look at four walls and eat her meals, and it was left at that. I just want to bring it up that we did talk to Dee at the end of the meeting, that Cedars is still going to serve the meal there for the seniors. So there's nothing changed. It's not closing, it's not going somewhere. The same amount of meals will go there, and the seniors that go there will get their meals. It's just being prepared someplace different. So it changed my mind listening to what happened at the executive session.
Supervisor Brown.
I did talk to that young woman and explained to her it is going to be open, and she said she did know that, but
So why did she say she has to?
because she doesn't want to eat the meals prepared elsewhere. So she's going to be not attending, is what her position. I'm just relating that because I felt like maybe she didn't understand, so I went and talked to her. But I think we're doing this the wrong way, and I'm not in favor of this.
Supervisor Stroud, did you have a question?
No question, just a comment that I agree with Peter and Claudia and Doug, that, and this facility is like a quarter mile from my office, so they are in regular communication with me, and I'm familiar with the people there, and they feel strongly, emotionally about this, and it's worked. Although I think Director Dee did a great job at presenting to the public, and I can relate to the hard times that she went through that particular afternoon. But I think we have a service that's functioning, it's working well. I think that there are hidden costs involved with switching this to Washington County. I suspect that. I don't know that. So as of right now, I'm in support of keeping it at the Cedars.
Supervisor Bates?
Yeah, I made my comments known earlier, and I agree with supervisors. We all want to save money. That should be and get the biggest bang for our taxpayer dollar. But as I mentioned earlier, the fastest growing segment of this whole county is the senior population. That's a fact. And I guess Dee's done a great job. I really believe that. She was told, cut 150, find a way to save it, and she did it. So I have zero fault with her. I think we were short-sighted, this Board of Supervisors, in saying, hey, you need to find some $150,000. I can tell you, I had a budget of $250 million. I had 7 directors. I would never say to 7 directors across the board, everybody find me 10%. Everybody find me 5%. Because every department is its own entity, and it has its own challenges. I may say to one director, you find 7% because I've analyzed your numbers, and another one, you find me 3%. So I guess I looked at this, and I think we gave a blanket direction to Dee to save $150,000. I think that was our mistake, because of what I just stated, that the fact that this is the fastest growing segment of our population. So why are we looking to cut back in that area? Now, I'm not saying we can't, but I'm saying that type of blanket thought process is not beneficial to running an efficient county. So I'm going to vote against this. I appreciate all the information I heard in executive session. I can't comment on it, but I still am going to vote against this at this time. I'm just not comfortable with the changeover to Washington County. Thank you.
Supervisor Laggett.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The situation does put Board of Supervisors between a rock and a hard place. We are between the administration of the county and our responsibility to stay within a tax cap and be fiscally responsible and account to all of the taxpayers in the county, as well as myself as supervisors that oversee the actions and the departments, I think it is also very important to keep in mind the message that goes out to those various departments, that we're not switching horses midstream, that we are consistent in our message throughout. And if we ask a department to do their best to reduce costs so that we may live up to our obligation to stay within funding limits and appropriation limits, that we should have what it takes to support them as well, and make those tough decisions and take the stance and recognize that there is, not everybody's going to be happy and somebody's going to pay for it as well. As town supervisor, we face this all the time, and every year as we have to come into budget. So I would appeal to the Finance Committee to support what the Health and Human Services Committee has passed forward, what the Personnel Committee has passed forward, and now in front of the Finance.
And that just kind of reminded me of, we're talking about 7 positions here, but I remember in 2008, and there's a handful of us here who we cut about 40 positions. It wasn't fun. It was not fun at all.
One final comment. If we were a school district, the population of the school district was going up 10% a year. Do you think we'd cut funding for the school district? Do you think we'd say, hey, we gotta look for savings in the school district, we gotta cut back? I'm not so sure we would. Okay, so
thank you.
So I'm not quite done.
Oh, sorry, I was recognized by the chairman, Mr. Beatty, pretending to go on.
Thank you. So that's an example that I think we can all relate to. And again, I'm not saying we can never look for savings just because they're seniors and that's our fastest growing portion of our population. I'm just saying that asking for an X amount of dollars without, I think, us doing our due diligence and saying maybe that was too much to ask for, or it was maybe a little premature on our part. That's all I'm saying. Thank you.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Thank you. Supervisor Beatty tends to muddy the waters with emotions instead of looking at the facts. The facts may be that seniors are, and we are all part of this, a growing part of a population. But the numbers served by the Office for the Aging, we should look at what the actual numbers are. And the fact is, we will continue to serve those people even as it increases. This does not cut services provided by the Office of the Aging. That is the fact.
Just one last comment. When you're sitting in front of your iPad at 4 in the morning and you all of a sudden you start looking at just census numbers, okay? And I think in Warren County, according to the latest census, I think it's 21 to 22% of citizens are 65 and older. Okay, so that's a significant proportion of citizens are fall into that category, which I actually fall into myself. So, that being said,
Supervisor Weil.
Chairman, thank you. I think, as I mentioned in the executive session, there's a couple of issues going on here, and emotion plays a big part of it. There's a sense of loss, which could mean grief if we don't quite think clearly about what's happening. The county has set in motion an opportunity to save some money, which will impact all our taxpayers, hopefully impact them positively. But one thing we need to make sure we don't forget is that the services that we render are important, and we need to be able to make a commitment that the services will not degrade. So if going forward, that's one of the things that I'd like to see assurances on, and some types of control in place to make sure that we stay in close communication and deal with any issues on monthly. And,
Supervisor Driscoll.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Like yourself, I've had a professional relationship with the folks at the Cedars. My question is, if the committee's pleasure that we vote against this, will we be back next month in personnel to discuss various positions currently at the Cedars?
I don't think we're prepared to answer that. I'm not prepared to answer it.
I'm prepared to answer it. I think we should.
Go ahead.
There were some serious concerns raised today in executive session that I think we do need to address. And this, to me, this approach is problematic.
One last comment. I hope Supervisor Leggett is aggressive enough in saving money in other areas. We totally screwed up the RFP process for leasing out the airport, which is only $500,000 a year, Supervisor. So I know that's not a lot of money
Okay,
to you.
Supervisor, if there's let's move forward. We're already quarter after.
But all I'm saying is I hope
get
we're
it.
that same aggressive in other areas.
I think we all are. I think we all are. We have a concern.
We have a vote.
I was hoping you were going to raise your hand, Mr. Thomas. Let's hear from our budget officer, please.
Well, as the budget officer, I guess I set some of this in motion. I'd like to thank Dee for her efforts and taking the heat. Perhaps some of the heat should be pointed in this direction. I think the county is spending $1.254 million on heat. Of that, 30% is from the state. So that leaves about $880,000 that the county's funding. I think reducing the cost by $74,000, and it doesn't reduce the service. Can't do that, then I think we've got some issues. And I also think that we should be half as passionate about what goes on over at the Human Services Building and the money that's handed out over there. So I'm worried about this.
Good point. Good point. See, I knew I was waiting for your hand to be raised. Okay, we do have a motion and a second. All those in favor, show your hands, please.
Aye.
Got 5, and against? 4.
Motion. All right, you're right again, you found it.
Okay, privilege of the floor. Anyone like to, go ahead, Treasurer Swan.
I just want to, for information purposes, at the end of December, our office started up accepting credit card payments for back to taxes. Actually, I was surprised at how many people we service that way, and sometime within the next couple of months, we will be opening it up to online.
I am so glad you just said that because it just reminded me of, I was at the Dome with my kids for lacrosse. One of the parents who is a worker in the county clerks, they do not accept credit cards in there. So everything's done on a cash basis, whereas like DMV is not. Have we thought about an ATM? It's a moneymaker.
I never thought about it.
So,
Yeah. I have talked to the county clerk about if she wants to accept credit card payments in her office, we can do that.
Okay.
Now, under the new contract that we have, we can expand it to any department that wants to do it.
I don't know whose purview that falls under, but is it something we can explore? Having,
Yeah, it would be that, what committee is social services? Or not social...
County clerk?
County, Mr. Lowe. Is that your committee?
Support.
Mr. Lowe. You have a homework assignment.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? If not, motion to adjourn.
I'm moving.
Made by Supervisor Garrity, seconded by Supervisor Frazier. Thank you all.
I went in for my license.